morning, drowning in memories, subtracting the good, worshipping the bad, you will want to kill him.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. We're going to have that information up later. But up first, we have Kai Kaldro, who's a heavy metal singer, songwriter, actor, and filmmaker from New York City. And you can see his latest video, His Girl Friday the 13th, on all of the usual video and music sites. Kai, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. I like how you use the that tight shot of me undoing the pantyhose on my really hairy leg I didn't shave when I was in drag for the video. That was no, that
That's
was
all on Josh.
Yeah, no. I was being genuine. I wasn't being facetious.
Cool.
I like the video. It was great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. We're shooting the next one finally for my song Redial for Remnants. We're shooting that when I get back in town this weekend. We're gonna do it on Sunday. And I was solo in that last video, but this time my guitarist Roxy, she's going to be with me on camera in the sync performance sequence, and her band, she's from this 3-piece all-female punk band called Jackknife Stiletto, and they're signed to Joan Jett's label, and I've been a fan of them for a minute, so it's it's a cool thing when fortune smiles upon you getting to work with people, in a professional, capacity who you were a fan of first. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Awesome, man. We're definitely going to get into that a little bit later as well. So that's amazing. Great news. Great. I mean, just amazing.
Thank you.
Molly Votoire is a young artist whose voice resonates with a generation navigating the complexities of mental health, social issues, and self-discovery. Her book of poetry, Temptations of a Splintered Heart, is out now on Amazon. Melody, welcome to the show.
Hello, I am so glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. Thanks for showing up. And I have to call out, you were the first. You were early. That's amazing. So thank you so much for showing up. Finally, and certainly not least, we have Molly Gilbert, a Las Vegas-based artist. She's already wowed the art world with her sculptures and sketches and paintings, and she's currently lighting up the music scene as a guitarist with the band Sunday Morning. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Glad to have you. Glad to talk with you. I want to say, I'm sure I speak for Josh here as well. It's so rare to have like 3 clips of videos or 3 videos, very different, that you actually love everything. I love what I saw from all 3 of you. And Melody, I actually saw hers after I booked her on the show, and I'm like, this is going to be great. So Molly, you're kicking ass, and Kai, just amazing. Great. That's why you're here, because you guys are really putting the effort in, and I want to recognize what it's like, because I've done shows with a lot of celebrities who at all layers of fame, but I never talked with people at the beginning of what the everything around getting started and believing in yourself and actually going out there and doing it. And I have some great questions. We're going to start off with some basics though. So Melody, your poem is very powerful and your delivery is amazing. When did you first find poetry and fall in love with it?
So writing has been a part of my life since I was a little girl. I always loved it, but I didn't really start getting into poetry until high school. I was in my adolescent era. I was going through all kinds of big emotions and struggling with a million different things. And at the time I kind of figured out, this is an amazing outlet for me to kind of get everything out. And, I had experimented with all kinds of different art throughout my life, painting, drawing, I play guitar, I work with different bands. But the number one thing that I always come back to has been poetry, because it's just been such a powerful outlet for me.
That's amazing. When you find something you love, it never leaves you.
Yes.
Thank you. Kai, your video is one of the most professional things I've seen from an up and comer. So congrats on that. How long did it take for you to find your vocalist voice?
That's a good question. I remember, you know, as a kid, doing like talent shows before my voice changed. And I don't know, I never took any like vocal training for anything. I think, in the simplest terms, you know, and you hear this, I think, a lot from rock singers, but there was never really any classical training. There was never any kind of you know, innate, you know, awareness of whether or not, you know, you really sounded good or not. It was more, it kind of cruxed upon an elevated capacity beyond, you know, the average person to, you know, go out, you know, in front of, you know, a crowd of people and, you know, risk, you know, potentially embarrassing yourself or whatever, and being, you know, unintimidated by that. You know, I think ultimately, you know, you know, the will to act ultimately, you know, superseded any skill. So, I want to say, you know, that was something I started doing pretty early on, but I didn't really have anything on the record until this last year. And that came pretty naturally to me because I think for a long time, you know, when I was like kind of beating the dead horse of the short films I made when I was 18 or 19, like, you know, it was kind of, I thought, I was like, what am I doing wrong? And I thought, you know, trying to promote those or whatever and see how far those could really go. And the reality is that, you know, there was more that I had to offer than, you know, being behind a camera and bossing people around. And, you know, I think for a long time, it wasn't that I was afraid to do it, but I was, you know, worried about, I guess, maybe coming off as vain or whatever. But in the current world we live in, where people are currently, you know, are constantly, you know, taking photos of themselves, looking at their mirror reflection on their phone screen or whatever the fuck, you know, it's like, you know, it's hard to, by comparison, whatever I do on camera or on stage feels pretty, pretty modest by comparison. So that kind of vindicated me of any, you know, self-conscious
what I'm getting at is whenever you're in front of a microphone, you could sing like many different ways. You could do I want to do this, or you could be scream, you could gravel, you could change your voice a lot of ways. You have at least two very definite voices. And I'm just kind of wondering, when did you when did you get that voice? Like, that's what I want to sound like when I do a recording, is kind of
that's a good question. So I'm glad you asked. It's something I've been wanting to address, actually. So if you listen to especially the last two songs, Redial for Remnants and His Girl Friday the 13th, so there's kind of the main guttural, like, you know, baritone bass, you know, metal voice or what have you that I'm doing. That comes pretty naturally. The other side of that, you know, is that there's kind of we began to joke around in the studio and call like the 1940s Betty Boop falsetto. And that was, you know, sort of spawned out of how, you know, we're making, you know, you know, it's me and my, you know, guitarist producer, we're doing this, you know, album, I guess, you know, like song by song with limited means, not a big studio production. And of course I wanted like female backing vocalists, which, you know, can't really afford any more people, you know, in the studio at the moment. Sure. So what I did instead, and it kind of made sense given the nature of my first music video, where I'm playing, you know, I'm playing a character who is sort of, you know, has two different alter egos in the vein of Norman Bates, and the female one is homicidal. I decided that it would be cool and it would be fitting, you know, to try to create, you know, a vocal character in and of itself and within the album of that, and sort of like a, you know, David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust type way. And so, and that, it was cool because, you know, it's the exact opposite of my usual vocal style, and yet, you know, it seems to, you know, they seem to bounce off each other well. So, you know, that's one of those things that just happened naturally and seemed to work. And, you know, I'm glad, you my the people on board, pushed me out of my comfort zone on that one.
I'm glad they did too, man. It really worked, and that's why I asked the question, because I'm like, this is something you have to think about. It's just not like I'm gonna get up there and do it.
Yeah.
Molly, your art blows me away. I wanted to say that first. Your artwork blows me away. The first time I saw it, I was like, what? This is amazing. Your music reminds me of the stuff I was doing on stage when I was around your age, and I was instantly attracted to it. I know that feeling. I know that vibe, that raw, we're here to have a blast and let you have a blast too. I wanted to ask you, what do you love more, playing on stage or seeing people enjoy your artwork?
Good question. It kind of feels like the same thing to me. Like, definitely in different settings, but at the same time, they both kind of feel like I'm watching people enjoy my art. Like the
Right.
crowd going crazy and getting rowdy and stuff. That kind of feels like I'm watching them enjoy my artwork. So it all kind of like I get the same feelings from it for sure.
So again, I believe music is art. I'm not trying to get away from that, but like they're very different settings. Being in the museum or the art exhibit, and then being on stage where people are like trying to break each other sometimes, like if it's a good show. So like I didn't know what, like if you had to definite like I would, if you had to pick one night to go after one, just which one would you go to first?
I definitely go to playing in my band. Probably like yeah.
It's
I
instant
think
gratification too.
yeah. I love watching people having such a good time, like listening to our music. It feels so good to like see other people feel good. And I feel like my artwork tends to either gross people out or make them feel sad, but some people really love it and get happy feelings from it. So yeah.
Awesome. So the next question is for you as well. How long have you been playing a guitar, and did you start with any lessons, or have you just forced your way through?
I did take lessons. I started when I was about 12 or 13 years old. I took lessons from, his name is Maxwell Dybel. He's an amazing guitar teacher. He taught me at Guitar Center. And yeah, he taught me almost everything I know. He taught me how to be able to learn new skills from anything I pick up, basically. Everything I needed.
You know they're a great teacher when the student calls them out by name. I still remember that my bass teacher, Mr. Weaver, horrible breath, but he was a genius. And I still can't play bass, but that's not on him. Kai, a similar question. I know you said you didn't have any training, but what did you do to train yourself up? Because being in front of a microphone, I didn't know you did talent shows earlier. What trained you up to get you? Because your voice has definite, there's something in there that you've worked on. What did you do to train yourself?
Good question. I think just learning how to emote more, because you can't really I feel like emote too well, or you can't I feel like in order to sing you have to emote. It's kind of I've always felt like acting and music are kind of one and the same, which is why my music and the makings of it are also theatrical. But I think
definitely.
Like Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie are my two biggest influences. So there you
Great
go.
influences.
Yeah. But I think kind of like how you look at any actor, like any shitty actor, the one thing you'll notice about them, the big detractor, is that they're not emoting, because when they speak, because they're afraid of like oh, if I emote, I'm not going to look pretty, I'm not going to look perfect. And it's like, all right, well, if that's really the priority, then go be a model. You shouldn't be acting. And so that's
boring.
Yeah. So just learning how to do things in the moment, in the in the Vox booth in the studio, or even on stage, that feel like they look or sound weird at the time. I mean, ultimately it's for the better. Learning how to they say you only use like 10% or whatever of your brain. I feel like that most people are like that with their larynx. So learning how to just be comfortable being louder, because despite whatever I portray in my music, I'm actually typically pretty soft spoken. So learning how to I guess unleash the beast.
Yeah, like you are you, but your character, not character, but your stage persona is
Yeah,
a
you can
different
say
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It seems demeaning, but it's a persona. I think sometimes people say character, he's just playing somebody, but no, it's a persona. It is something you wear like a skin, which ties in with the horror thing a little bit. But yeah, and I want to say just go off script a little bit. I'm completely impressed by your awareness of this. It's so early. It took me years to figure out that the person outside, that is not necessarily me. It's an aspect of me. It's a part of my persona. So like, you've come across that very early, and that's really amazing. But before we go on, yeah, I didn't want to go too far off because I want to break up the question. So, but yeah, I just want to compliment you on that. That's great.
Well, no, thank you.
Melody, you publish work. You're an artist. I know you said you play guitar, but I want to know, like, when did you get the confidence to publish your work? That's huge. That's like a big, what are people going to think? Tell me, how did you tell yourself that you were good enough to publish?
So I actually finished my debut book, Temptations of Splintered Heart, in May of 2023, but I didn't get around to publishing it until October of that year. For a very long time, I would go back and forth with myself and say, nope, this is the worst thing you've ever done. Don't you dare put that out there. But I finally, I showed it to my editing team. I showed it to all of the wonderful, beautiful people that I work with, and we all kind of went on it. And I said one day, nope, there's no more messing around with this. There's no reason to hold myself back from this. So I began the actual publishing process and looking into it. And it was it was a sort of situation where it's like every step closer, it became less scary. So by the time it was ready for like my actual release party and things like that, I was like, I got this.
Yay for you. Like, that's the guts that people don't realize you have to have. Your name's on it. Like that's, and you're out there and you did it. Have a great one. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Be safe out there. Treat each other well.